guess we'll switch in between us until we figure it out.
I'm trying to get that microphone working. Do we need a microphone here? First, thank you very much for coming here today. My brother Pike's rule, by the way. Graduate with honors, fellows, okay? Some of these other Pikes didn't graduate with honors. Or at all.
Charlie, thanks for being here. Good luck the rest of the season. Yeah, it's the Hall of Fame right here. And William, you and Lonnie went in this past year, right?
Lonnie went in this year, I went in the year before. Lonnie's in the building. So.
There you go. Congratulations. Great seeing you win and keep on doing your thing. And the Knowles are going to rule softball again, okay? Lonnie, great to see you. And Charlie surprised the heck out of me when you walked in that door. I think he surprised everybody here. But my wife Ann is right over here. Before we start talking about other stuff, my wife Ann. Okay, 60 years, 7 months, and 29 days. She has been married to me, okay? She is the real Hall of Famer in this family. Love it. My son Dennis and Eric. Dennis, raise your hand. Eric's like Laura. Thank you for being with us. You know, by the way, Eric and Dennis became grandparents this past July. Yeah, there you go. That's Miles' grandmama and Kieran's granddad. And you know, if they're grandparents, what does that make me? I'm a great-grandfather. Proud to be it. Miles lives in Cairo and Kieran lives here in Tallahassee. Both were born within 17 hours of each other. How about that? Am I blessed or what? That's a touchdown Florida State and a touchdown Tampa Bay. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
All the dignitaries, again, thank you so much for being here. All great friends, myself, Gene, thank you. So, you look at the Mount Rushmore of Florida State, to me, right now, I'm only saying the two. Of course, the great legend, Robert Kleckler Bauer. But when you talk about Florida State, I ain't just talking about football. When you talk about this university, you cannot go past Emerson Eugene Deckerhoff Jr. You can't do it. Gene Deckerhoff in the building. So I have to imagine this. I remember my first call from Mom Garner. I'm sure you didn't get your first call in 74 from Mom. Love you, Mom. How did you get that call? How did you start? You started basketball first at Florida State. Then you went into football in 79. How did you get your call?
I was a basketball Jones. I played basketball in high school and in college. And love the game of basketball, still do. Love watching Charlie Ward distribute passes. Oh, golly, we had some great times traveling together. Never one time, we're on an airport. Charlie, we used to fly commercial, by the way. We didn't travel with charters like they do now. And so we were on an airplane and getting ready. We just beat Georgia Tech. Bobby Kremens, he said, the reason why you want Charlie Ward. That's probably the reason why we beat him 4 times in a row up there. But anyway, we were on the charter plane. It's snowing like crazy. It's already an hour late we've been on the plane, and we have to go back and de-ice again. And here's Charlie sitting right in front of us, and I don't know if Wayne Hope says, Charlie, what you going to do tomorrow morning? Sleep in? He says, no, sir, I'm going to be at church tomorrow. Charlie Ward, that's my favorite story, Charlie. When you had all that honors, but when you tell Hogan and me you're going to be at church that next morning, it's midnight late, we don't get home till 1 o'clock in the morning. That's my favorite Charlie Ward story. Still going to church. Oh, by the way, William, did you see Coach Gruden? Did you see Coach Gruden in that video? Is he the best or what? He wants to know me. He said, number one, I love you, guy. If you ever knew Coach Gruden, he'd say he loved everybody. But he walked up to me once at one Buccaneer place. We're getting ready to go on a trip. And he came out of his office and, hey, how you doing? I love you, guy. He says, you know, my mom, if she wasn't married, she'd marry you. Okay, that's one John Gruden story. The second John Gruden story, Ann and I, well, you got a lot of them, but there's very few I can tell we're in the next company. I didn't give him a bunch of hats and jerseys, so he said good things about me. You know, his stick now is he gets the bundle opens up. Oh, he's great. But anyway, Ann and I are at Derek Brooks' golf tournament. And we have a big reception. We had just won the Super Bowl 37. And everybody was there. Lightning players were there. Obviously, the Buccaneer players were staff, all the Hall of Famers. And Coach Gruden comes up, and my wife just, oh, John Gruden, she said, oh, he is just the greatest coach on the planet. I said, Coach, this is my wife, Ann. He gave him this, I love you, gal. No, he said, you love everybody, I told you. And so anyway, we talk, and Ann's excited. And just before he leaves, he passed me on the chest. He said, hey, Jane, you're getting a Super Bowl ring, ain't you? I said, well, you know, Coach, I don't think so. Nobody's called me up about it. He did one of these things. Looked up at the sky, looked back, Ann, good to meet you, Gene, have a great evening, see you. The next day I got a phone call from the Buccaneers saying, what's your ring size? You're getting a Super Bowl ring. Super Bowl 37, okay? So thank you, John Gruden, for your kind words and for the Super Bowl 37 ring. I did not bring it. Now, Floyd's got 3 rings. Floyd's got 3 rings. He's got his San Francisco 49ers ring, his Seminole rings, and one from 93 and then one from 2013. 93, he was a broadcast player and scored the only touchdown in that championship game in 93. Waiting hard on Floyd. Now, if there's anybody wearing Nebraska red here tonight, you still swear he did not score that touchdown. But my story is he scored the touchdown. I'm sticking with it. We won the championship. Charlie Ward was our quarterback. He did score, didn't he? He did score. So ask Charlie. He was there. He had the ball on. But anyway, then the 2013 championship ring that William wears was from our 2013 championship when Florida State beat Auburn. And Kelvin Benjamin made a tremendous catch with about 16 seconds left in the game. And we beat Auburn the old-fashioned way. We had to come from behind down by 17, 20, something like that. And we scored the winning touchdown against Auburn to win that thing. So William's got 3 rings. I have 2 championship rings for Florida State. I have 2 Super Bowl rings. I have 1 arena football championship ring from the Storm. And I don't have as many fingers as William has, okay? I can't wear all those. And this one right now, if you haven't had a chance, it weighs about 1.5 pounds. And
should be a 300 ring.
yeah, 319 diamonds, by the way. Represents 31-9, the final score against Kansas City in Super Bowl 55. So anyway, but anyway, John Gruden with his kind comments, Michael Allstott. Every time I see Warren Sapp gives me a big, he really hugged it pretty hard. He's a big guy. Give me the call, give me the call. Allstott up, they got touchdown Tampa Bay. And that's why Michael Allstott, that's a famous call. And I think, and he threw that there, he does it better than I do, okay? I want to thank Mike. Again, whoever got those videos put together, Leroy Butler, a hero in the punt Brewski, obviously 1988, the rain, Mickey, it was pouring down rain. And by golly, we beat the Clemson Tigers on a field goal lead. And it was the punt Brewski that set that thing up. My mother and father were there. They're probably watching the Seminoles in heaven now, I know they are. But they were at that ball game, and it was a tremendous victory. And my number 2 all-time Florida State play is the punt Brewski play, and it was just edged out by Kelvin Benjamin's touchdown catch to beat Auburn in the national championship game. But so Leroy Butler, not only was he a champion at Florida State, but he was a champion with the Green Bay Packers and the inventor of the Lambeau Leap. I don't know if you knew that. Now, Mickey, did you go with Bobby to recruit Leroy Butler? Did you and Bobby went over to recruit Leroy Butler, an official visit, and Leroy said, don't come to my house, I'll meet you at the convenience store. He says, my neighborhood's too rough for you guys to come in here. And so he met Bobby and Mickey at the convenience store, and that is where they did the deal, say, we want you to play at Florida State. And Leroy Butler came to FSU, so I want to say thank you very much, Leroy. Did he do a great job on that? Did he know Floyd, you want your job, baby? You're going to start asking questions here, but are you going to be able to get a word? And likewise, here in attendance today, future Hall of Famer, Jeff, where's Jeff? Jeff Colhane. Jeff Colhane is a future Hall of Famer. So maybe, hand the microphone over to Jeff, doing a great job in basketball, football. He does it all. The TV show last night, Jeff Colhane in the house. Now, Chris Culp was sitting right next to it. Chris was our engineer, still is. Where's Mark Johnson? Mark Johnson, the 1988 punt Brewski game, Mark Johnson, the late Lee Bowen were driving the equipment to the stadium early, had a car accident. They were both hospitalized. And tonight, I didn't recognize Mark because he didn't have that red bandana on that he wore during the broadcast of that game. I'll never forget, Brett Musburger was doing TV, and Brett Musburger Mark, you still had blood out of that bandana on, and Brett Musburger comes over the booth and says, hey, Gene, is your guy okay? Is your guy? And and Lee could not be there. He was still in the hospital.
No, he was there.
Well, he was there, okay, but you had the red bandana. But Mark lives in Panama City. He was nice enough to come up here and recognize old Gene Brett here. Where's Andy Surat? I can't see Andy because he was always my spotter. He had the better eyes, and Andy's back here, but we worked together for about 30 years. And Tom Blah, Tom, you're looking at the Seminole Radio Network right back here, okay? So Andy Surat, Tom Blah, Chris Cole, William Barnum, Floyd, and Jeff Cole Henry. All right, like I said, future Hall of Famers. Okay, are you, did I have that? Okay, Butler, Gruden, All-Star, the good, Charlie, Lonnie is here, and Kenya, thanks for what you do for the Hall of Fame, and also thank you for getting my valet parking here at the Governor's Club. I was no dadgum way to coach Coach Bobby Bell that I was going to walk 2.5-3 blocks to come to this folks today. Thank you, Kenya. All right. Chris Winky, is he here? Well, Chris was up front. Oh, that was Chris. Somebody told Chris Winky to stop coaching that dadgum Georgia Tech team. Hey, we got to beat those guys, huh? We got to beat those guys. Chris Winky, quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, and then he was drafted. That was one of the Carolina Panthers, right? That was one of the But the Winkster, his mom and dad came to every game. Every game, and this is back before you had the TSA and go through get on airplanes. So I'm flying at 6:30 in the morning to go to a Buccaneers game, and I would see Mr. and Mrs. Winky every Sunday morning after a Florida State game. So I got to be part of the family, and I want to thank Chris Winky for also the very kind words that he had. I had no stories on Chris Winky. Well, I do have a few, but I digress. So Chris Winky was not a 19-year-old freshman when he came to Florida State University. He was like 25, 26, remember he played minor league baseball. That's why his teammates loved him. His offensive lineman, they go to dinner, Chris would pick up the check. Because he had money. And Mr. and Mrs. Winky were always great. I felt like I was family. He had a sister who was a tremendous athlete as well. But Chris had a great career as a player and then as a coach. And he also followed in Charlie Ward's footsteps and won the Heisman Trophy in 1999. He was a junior, as I recall, on that chip, won the Heisman Trophy. He won as a senior in 93, and then the great Jameis Winston won the Heisman Trophy in 2013. Now, you see a pattern there? Ward, Winky, Ward, Winky, Winston. Huh? All three last names started with a W. Are we going to go out and recruit a quarterback? Charlie, you got to talk to Coach Norvell. We need a quarterback with a last name that starts by a W, like William or Watson, Winston. Okay, all right. Anyway, go ahead. Thank you. I'm sorry that I'm
No, I love it, man. This is what everybody came for, right? This is why we love Gino, right? Exactly what he's talking about it. He's talking about this 2013. You know, I was still trying to figure out my professionalism in the booth, as far as my antics. And, Kevin Benjamin scores that touchdown, and I jump up, and I cannot stop moving around and jumping around and celebrating. And Gene is sitting here just picking up everything, putting it back, still calling the game. I blocked everything over, but that's how I was like, you talking about a real pro. Gene was still doing his thing while I was just acting like a fan in the stands. So that's what I love about this man right here. He taught me the broadcast. You always say Coach Bob taught me a lot of things about life, and so did Gino. And for one, it was definitely how to be a professional, getting it done. And I never had to worry about going and finding my own information on the game, because all I do is just go to Deckerhoff.com, find everything I need. I think Eric was kind of helping with that too, so Gene put it out there. So I never really worried about having the information. He always made sure I was prepared. So that's what I love about being able to work with this man right here. Became great friends. Love you, Gino. Now we got to get to, I guess, a couple questions.
I saw Barry over there sort of grinning.
Okay, you were talking about Punt Brewski in 1988. Okay, I was at that game. Now, I was at the game representing the Outback Bowl, and I was sitting right behind Tom McEwen. Okay, and you talk about being a fan. Now, when you're repping the bowl, you have to be out in the middle and whatever. When Butler did that, I jumped up, I knocked a beer over on top of Tom McEwen. Trying to type and all that stuff. He turned out and was pissed off at me. He kept going, did I care? Hell no. One of the greatest moments in FSU was great ball.
Tom McEwen was the sports editor of the Tampa Tribune, for those that do not know Tom McEwen, but he was mad at anybody that wore garnet and gold anyway, okay? You know that for a fact. Barry, you still have one record in Florida State football, the record book. You had a bunch of them at one time.
Yeah.
But now I think the one, if I'm not mistaken, Floyd can answer it, I'll have Steph call him, but the best average per reception.
Highest average per catch in a career.
Yeah, okay.
20.1.
We need a microphone. Say it again.
20.1.
There was a lot of balls being thrown. You know, a lot of speed being shown to have that type of 20.
Well, hey, I told you I wasn't going to answer a question for Barry Smith. You're handling it. Go ahead.
No. We got a couple. Yeah, you can go.
Gene, my favorite, I'd like to know what your favorite call looking back, because my favorite is the Rock Preston handoff. What's your favorite call?
Yeah, well, that's in the top 5. That's number 4, if I'm not mistaken. Pombrewski the second. The catch. You know, by the way, Jeff, you took me on a tour of the football facility. Somewhere in the new facility, there's a huge mural of Kelvin Benjamin making that catch to beat Auburn. I haven't seen it in the new facility. Boy, that's big. I mean, you need to put down popcorn hurdles and find out how to get back out of the place. And so it's the Taj Mahal of football facilities. Mickey, I think you were in a sandbox when you were the defensive coordinator for it. Yeah, back in the days, sorry, Coach Andrews is here. He's in our Hall of Fame. He should be at every Hall of Fame. The story goes that when Jimbo Fisher hired his defensive coordinator, they went to Shula's Steakhouse. When Bobby Bowden invited Mickey Andrews to come over for an interview, they went to McDonald's. Mickey said yes, and the rest is history. I'll never forget that story. That's a good one. Yep, good to see you, Mickey.
Got any more questions out there?
Oh, by the way, Floyd, the fish are safe at Lake Talcott because Mickey Andrews is at the luncheon. Yeah, there will be no hand grenades thrown in that lake today.
So you've been able to call the careers of some of the greatest. Oh, we got another question?
No, did I answer that question? I didn't answer the question. What? Oh, I saw that. Oh, the 5-3. That was the decisive touchdown that tied the Gators in 1994.
Wow.
We refer to it as the choke and doke. Gator fans still think they won, but we scored 4 touchdowns, 28 points in the 4th quarter to come from behind and beat the Florida Gators. Steve Spurrier never won a game in Tallahassee, Florida as the head coach of the Florida Gators. And since Steve was my head coach of the Tampa Bay Bandits in the old USFL, I reminded him of that. No, because when I've seen him since, because USFL was a bit 80s, and that win was Rock Preston's touchdown run. I'll never, William, your predecessor, the late Vic Frenzy, great football player from Ithaca, New York. I think it was the same area. But I looked at Vic after we scored that touchdown. We're down 1 point after Rock Preston's TD scored. And I said, Vic, do we go for 2? Or do we go for 1? And Vic said, no, Gene, he says, I know Coach Bobby Bowden knows Steve Spurrier so well that Steve wants to win this game so bad that he's going to make a mistake and we might have a chance to win this thing. So we went for the tie and the point after. And we tied the ball game after Rock Preston 5-3-2-1. People say, you don't know the number 4, do you, Gene? It's 5-3-2-1, touchdown FSU, touchdown Rock Preston. And when we tied that game, there were folks that left that ball game. Remember, the stadium was packed and fans had filed out. We're down 20 points, 21 points. And back in the old days, Pensacola Street went over, that tunnel that you had to go through, and there was nothing but Seminole fans leaving the arena. And just before Rock will come back, and I say, for those of you who left early, for those fans who left early, sorry, you're missing a great football game. But son of a gun, we won the game. We did. We tied it. Well, we 31-31 final score. Danny Canal. And oh, by the way, I wish if you see James Coles, you tell him hello for me. I know he's no longer coaching the fan, Charlie, but if you see him, cross paths, picked off by Coles, he's still one of my favorite calls of all time. It didn't decide the game, but it gave us the ball back and a chance to win the ball game. Picked off by Coles. He picked off by Colsey. 1994. You coach coached him, he coached Colby. Okay. Questions? Did I answer that question? Okay. I do like, that's number 4. That's number 4.
Coach Andrews.
Give us the rest of your numbers.
Okay, the number 1 is the catch, Kelvin Benjamin. Number 2 is the punt, Brewski. Oh, God, what is number 3? I've got it written down, Dickie. I've got it written down.
Where's Work Done called in that?
Work Done separation call is number 3. You're exactly right. Charlie Ward on 3rd down and 10. The crowd was going crazy. On 3rd down and 10, Charlie Ward takes the snap of the shotgun. He rolls right. He throws the ball. Caught by Dunn. Dunn at the 37. Dunn down the sideline to the 40. Dunn to the 50. Dunn to the 45. He separates to 15, 10, 5. Touchdown FSU. Touchdown Florida State. Yeah, that's number 3. That's number 3, Dickie. Thank you very much. Dion's punt return to Clemson. You remember he pointed to the Clemson bench. He said, I'm taking this one back. I'm taking this one back. You can read his lips. And son of a gun, that punt comes down and Dion does his thing and scores a touchdown. We watched the video highlights on the Bobby Bowden TV show the next morning. And they freeze frame that 5 when he's taking a knee in the end zone, you know, he just scored a touchdown. And it looked like there was a blizzard. There were so many cups of ice being thrown. I mean, it looked like there was a hailstorm. Clemson fans were not real friendly. Jeff, you know that. You know that. I'll never get Kelvin Benjamin and say, we're going to win this, we're going to win it. Bang! And we did. You don't remember that game? Clemson was number 3 that day when we beat them. They were number 3. We were in the top 15. So they were number 3 and we beat them. They had about 5 or 6 NFL players on that team. Including the kicker was an NFL kicker. Okay.
You remember I think the ball was somewhere on like our 20 or 30.
It was 4th down and 10. The ball
On the 30 yard.
Yes, yeah, nobody would ever dream.
We don't make it.
Yeah, they get the ball back and they're going to win the ball game. You know? What a gutsy call. Thank you, Coach Bowden. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
I was just going to say, in 2020, the Bucs won the Super Bowl, one of the few teams that were a wild card to do so. What was one of your favorite calls during that pretty awesome run that the Bucs had in 2020?
Well, number 1, Gronkowski caught 2 touchdown passes. That was pretty good. The best call of that game was one of my top 10, and that's the interception by, we intercepted the ball, Devin White in the end zone, and that clinched the victory. I mean, we were already going to win the thing, but that clinched it. They had no more timeouts. So the interception by Devin White was probably my favorite play from that game. Yeah, Michael, no. That was the one I remember. The Bucs are going to, win the Super Bowl. We're the world champions. And the same thing when Derek Brooks intercepted the pass and returned it for a pick 6 in Super Bowl 37. I said, the Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl and it's only the 3rd quarter. You're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say that. So we're dominating the game after that touchdown. Oakley comes back and scores a touchdown on a field goal. I said, did I say we're going to win this game? I did. You're not supposed to. I did that once in a regular season game. We scored a touchdown against Carolina. It may have been that same year. And Bucs win, Bucs win. And Jeff Ryan, my producer, said, gee, we still need to kick the extra point. No, we're not going to. So we still on the gun. We got the extra point blocked and we lost that game in overtime. So you're not supposed to say Bucs win until the final horn. Yeah, let alone Derek Brooks with the daggers in. Yes, Bart Johnson.
Gene, share with everybody your conversation with Coach Bowden after the Bucs offered you the job.
Oh, yeah, I had to get yeah, how about that one? The long version or the short version?
You got the mic.
Either one of them I talk. Yeah, I talked a long time. Used to get paid by the word, no. Coach Bowden and his television show, the 4 dealers of North Florida, and South Georgia were always big sponsors of our television show. 1 minute sponsor was thank you very much, 4 dealers. And they also sponsored the University of Georgia with Coach Vince Dooley and the University of Florida with Coach Charlie Pell. I'm not allowed to swear, yeah. Charlie Pell. I know that's going to put me in purgatory. I may be going further below if I say that name again. Anyway, the ad agency for the Ford dealers was home based in Jacksonville, and they wanted commercials done by all three head coaches. Well, they always used Bobby first, because they never were ready to do the commercial. And the agent said, you know, if we're not ready and Coach Dooley comes in, he's going to walk out. Same thing with the coach at Florida, if he walks in, he's going to walk out. So they always experimented with Bobby first. So they want Coach Bowden in Jacksonville to do this commercial at 8:30 in the morning. I said, Coach, I've got a plane ready, a little private plane, we're going to fly in Jacksonville, you'll be there by 8, they'll take you to the studio, and you'll be through by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So Bobby gets on that plane, I don't know how early Bobby got up, but his flight left here at 6:30. And he got to, I'm down in Tampa, one of our other sponsors for the Bobby Bowden TV show was Dairy Farmers Incorporated, the great dairy industry of the state of Florida, which is bigger than most of us think. About one night a year that I drank milk was when I attended that convention. So, well, there are any dairy farmers who don't tell that story. Galen Hall was the coach in Florida once at that same convention. They bring that pitcher of milk by. I pour my glass of milk, and Galen just sort of beaming and grinning and all that. And I says, Coach, you may want to drink some milk. He said, okay, so I poured him that. Anyway, I took a convention, and at the same time, WRBQ, Tampa Bay Buccaneers flagship station. But Frozen Road was one of them, and golly, and I called Icy Hot Spicy Hot one time. I called Frank Gore Al Gore one time. We had a receiver whose nickname was Flip, and I called him Flip Wilson. But Dave Moore, who has worked with me for 20 years as the Buccaneer color analyst, he has a whole list of about 11 of the genisms where I've made those there. Yeah, Al Gore, it wasn't Al Gore, my producer in the headphones said, it's Frank Gore, he's not the vice president. Okay.
You know, Andy, you remember this, but we used to have a little competition, hotter than a match.
Oh, hotter than a match, that's good. That's a basketball expression, yeah.
And you did football.
Hotter than football too, huh?
Yeah,
Hotter than a match, so.
Last week, we left a piece of cloth on the ground.
Who?
Left a piece of cloth on the ground.
Piece of cloth on the ground after a flag, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't call them blind, blankety blank to that. Another crappy call, ACC. You can't use that, Jeff. Nope. Another crappy call, ACC. Okay. Now, by the way, they're still not very good.
Barry Smith.
Barry.
One last, okay, your thoughts, comments, your favorite moment or your play. Don't forget, before the Super Bowl, okay, for the 2020 season, with Brady and all that, which is iconic. How about the NFC Championship game in Lambeau, in Green Bay, with Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady?
Scotty Miller had something to do with that, right? He made that catch at the end, just before
By the
halftime.
way, my son and I were there
You were-
at that game.
Yeah. So were you wearing Green Bay green or Tampa Bay
I
green?
was non-committal.
We know Ann Ballard, we played Clemson that first time. It was Father versus son up in Clemson. And Ann had a blouse or a sweater it was made. One half of the sweater was Florida State, the other half was Clemson, what are they, orange and blue or something like that? The ugly colors. Real ugly. Barry, that's a good question, and it's the last time I want to answer one of your questions. But Mary Ann, the last time I'm answering one of his questions. Great to see you. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now I'll get plenty of stuff for him to do around the house. Let me just say this in closing. Floyd, do you want to close this out?
No, I'm going to let you do it, baby. Everybody said you are the man of the hour. Thank all of you for coming out and joining us. Is he not the greatest?
Thank you. Touchdown, FSU. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Dance to the war chant. That's another one. Dance to the war chant. Jeff says, plant the spear. I can't say it as well as Jeff says it, okay? Thank you very much for being here today. Taking time out of your busy schedules for Thursday. We're not going to let it rain until you get in your car and head home. It wasn't supposed to rain until Sunday. And it rains every Sunday. We're at church. You get rain coming down from the ceiling. But thank so much. Great to see you during games. I come down and see you, basketball and football. I try to get over there at halftime and say, do a good job. Now I'll be able to get to a lot more games than the last couple. Last year I got to 1, I think. The year before 2. I did get to the Florida State game on Friday night. By the way, it's going to be a Friday night this year. But that game was a tremendous game where we beat them, held on to win, and the crowd jumped, everybody on the field. And yeah, so I'll be able to see more Florida State home football games. I will. Thank you very much, Joe Knowles, and have a great rest of the week.